guys, welcome to the Sourcefed podcast. If you're listening to this, thank you, and if you're watching this, I hate you. Just kidding.
All right. Well, we got there real fast. Hey, I'm Hank. Before Steve alienates anyone else, I'm gonna introduce myself. Hi, how's it going?
Hank Green is here, and that's very special, and so is Phil DeFranco.
Yay, that's me.
Are you a special guest on this podcast? I feel like you kind of are.
I feel like every time I'm on something, Steve says I'm a special guest. He's
well, because it's hard. You're a busy man, Phil, and even though we work in the same building,
it's hard to nail you down.
It's hard to nail you down.
I could never. If someone was like, "Hey, Phil, do you remember that one table talk or that one podcast you were on?" I'm trying to remember. It was the one where Steve welcomed you as a special guest and said you're a very busy man. I'd be like, "Oh, literally every single one." Every single one. Say it. But that's because I always ask to be on with you.
You should get it. You should get a shirt. It's just a very busy man.
I'm a very busy man.
Yeah,
I'd
like buy that. I'd buy that for human peoples.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Would you like that's because that's kind of like that shirt I'm kind of a big deal or something like that?
But better because it's just like,
that?
hey, I'm not saying I'm a big deal. I'm just a very busy man.
Yeah. Are you a very busy man, Hank Green?
I mean, I don't want to say yes, but
you are one of the busiest.
I'm a pretty busy man.
You're a busy man.
Yeah, when I think of busy tubers, I think of you. I think of Grace. I think of Rhett and Lang, your brother, obviously.
JD Witherspoon.
JD Witherspoon, of course.
Yeah.
Who else? Who else is out there?
Who's a busy tuber? Hannah's always a super busy tuber.
Yeah.
She's always doing something cool.
We got to have Mamrie on the other day.
Yeah, she's a busy tuber. I was talking to her yesterday. She's going to be in like 85 countries in the next 2 weeks.
Holy God. How do you do that? How do you
I was
do that?
exaggerating, first of all. Just to be clear. It's just the Amazing Race.
Well, she's going to be in between 2 countries for each show. So that counts as 2 countries. So be on the country line.
Just like put her butt on the border and wipe it back and forth.
That was a show I'd really love to be on.
Just wiping your butt on countries?
That and The Amazing Race.
I think that was the Tom Green show back in the
day. Man, it's weird to look back and be like, that was a television show. Yeah. That was on TV.
Uh-huh.
That was the weirdest thing.
I liked that show. I was a big fan of it. Wait a minute. The weird guy likes the weird show? Yeah, I love Tom Green. He still does stuff, right?
Yeah, except weirder and weirder.
Oh, I love that.
Thanks to the internet.
Yeah, I feel like it's a kind of a weird thing to be his brother. You know, me and John, like we have this YouTube thing, and then we have this older brother Tom, who's like, we can't control him. Nobody's friends with him anymore. He's totally like, my parents hate him now, and like he never comes to family gatherings, and it's just like,
well, this is the first time you've admitted that Tom Green is a Green brother of Hank and John fame.
We weren't trying to be secretive about it. It's just never come up.
Okay. What's Thanksgiving like?
Well, he's not there. I'll tell you that. Sometimes he shows up and you're like cutting the turkey open, and then Tom's head just pops out of the turkey, and you're like, "Oh my God,
Tom again!"
Where's the cameras? Where's the cameras?
I would love for that to be true. I would love for him to somehow be related.
But the problem is you've actually sliced a little bit of his face off, but he's like, "It's all worth it for the joke."
How weird!
I'm trying to have a good goof here, guys. Can you take me to the hospital? Part my cheek's gone.
No, that was part of the bit for him to be cut up.
Oh, okay, of course.
I feel like, though, could you imagine Tom Green? I can't imagine he acts the way he does with his family.
No, let's hope.
Because if that's the case, then, how awkward do you think Thanksgiving is when he tries to do stuff like that, and everyone's like, Tom, come on, man. We're just trying to eat.
Hey, man, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's at all. I mean, think of how many people you know in our industry that are always on. And you're like,
do you know they're always on, though? Because sometimes I'm like...
I know a few.
Sometimes I'm like, I just want to see you sleep. That's a weird thing to say. I feel weird about what I just said. But there's a couple of people who I'm like, are you sure you are a human being? Because I would love to just see you wake up in the morning and be like, I'm tired, and stretch and get out of bed and watch him, urinate and everything. Because I'm not separate to this, just because I'm kind of into that. and just be like, just watch you before the camera turns on, because I'm like, are you just that all the time? Do you wake up and you're just like,
I feel like you definitely know some people in the industry that are like that.
but maybe I don't know him that well. I don't.
Oh, so you assume that maybe it's like
I just see him in places where it's like you still are kind of the character.
I think there needs to be a Project for Awesome YouTubers calendar of YouTubers urinating. Like, what does that look like?
Right.
Like,
No,
from the
I mean,
back
I
or
think
from the front.
from the back. Let's be.
Well, are we going to involve both genders?
I think
here?
so. Yeah.
Okay.
Either way, both ways should be pretty PC.
Right.
And should be pretty
PC?
Yeah, it should be politically correct.
I didn't
Actually,
really-
I'm sorry, I
I don't
meant
think
PG. I meant
Okay.
PG. It should be PG. Yeah, let's be politically correct about peeing, guys.
Yeah,
There's that other side of the coin where it's not politically correct.
Let's not just assume everyone has a toilet, Steve.
Yeah.
Some people have to do it in the woods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just because I'm a man doesn't mean that I don't sit when I pee, because sometimes I'm tired. Okay?
Do you guys remember getting crap for that? Like, for
No,
peeing
yeah.
when
There's a
sitting
German
down?
word, Sitzpinkler, which is German for like pee sitter.
That's so strange.
And it's
That
like
is-
it's like a wussy.
That is a very.
Why?
The thing is, even if I didn't know that was the definition,
Yeah, you knew.
very just soul crushing sounding word.
It
Yeah.
is.
You
It's like, ugh.
Sitzpinkler.
I don't want anyone yelling that at me in an aggressive way.
And then at a bar, when someone goes, Sitzpinkler?
Sitzpinkler. I don't know.
Sitzpinkler.
I do not speak German well. Ask Flula.
Yeah, let's get Flula on the line.
Let's do it. Okay, wait, sorry. So you were saying everyone's peeing.
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah.
peeing in the
I think
calendar.
we should get everyone peeing, and obviously we get girls too. But it should be PG. We won't see any genitals or anything like that.
Oh, thank
I think
you.
it's
All
dudes
right,
from
good.
behind with a look over the shoulder. You know?
Oh, like
Or-
a knowing nod.
Yeah, like a smile, and then
Oh.
girls, sitting daintily.
This is a real bad idea.
Come on, man. You have to have at least one that's like leaning forward, grips the front of the
Yeah,
bowl.
yeah. Or like sitting on it like AC Slater, like you're sitting opposite of it. Your hands up on the top.
Well, that's how you can. That's how you can eat a meal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
On
it's
the top
good
of
if
the
you want a
toilet.
steak. If it's just taking a while to eat your steak, but you got to pee, and it's
Yeah.
just like, this is a real tough one.
It's gonna be a bit.
I need a big. Yeah, I mean, I think that I think there are problems with this idea, but I don't think any of them
Yeah.
are insurmountable.
I feel like you could have a bet where the loser has to eat a steak while on the toilet with the steak on the top.
The
part.
winner.
Yeah.
The winner has to eat a steak on the toilet. Yeah, I mean, like, it's
winner
a steak.
gets a steak dinner,
But
they have to eat it
Yeah.
sitting opposite on a toilet.
What a weird jump for the P4A calendar, because it was
Right, yeah.
everyone dressed up as movie characters.
Yeah.
Then it was baby photos, and now everyone's peeing.
peeing.
It was pets this year.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
okay.
right. I forgot about the
So
pets.
now peeing, yes.
Yeah.
Well, we have to have an idea, and we haven't had another one yet. So this
Yeah.
is so far the winner.
Oh,
waiting for a second idea. Any idea, please? Any idea?
This is the RRS Bodie McBoatface of the P4A
Oh
ideas.
yeah, I can't believe it. Did it actually get named that?
I don't think they're gonna actually name it, because they were smart enough to put it into their rules that they ultimately get to
Right,
make the
right.
decision. But that's what they had to do, because
Yeah.
I mean, Time Magazine had that whole thing where they were like, "You guys decide," and then Moot ended up being Person of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in case you guys are listening, you're like, what the hell are they talking about? There was a boat that they discovered.
They discovered the boat. It was found. It's from ancient times.
It's
Yeah.
an ancient boat.
No,
They
it's
found
a vessel. It's like $300 million, I believe. I don't think it was
Where did they
pounds.
Wait.
They didn't find it. Okay, just really
Okay.
fast. It was created.
Oh,
it's
they
a
didn't
new
find
boat.
it.
No.
Oh, I thought it
It's
was
a
like
brand new boat, and they're like, "Oh, we want people to help
Yeah,
us
To
name
name
the-
it.
it's
this
for
new
polar
boat.
navigation.
Okay.
Right? So it's like state of the art,
Right.
top end. They're like,
Nice.
come up with some like really standout
Get
names.
people involved in science.
Yeah,
Love
so it's
it.
like, let's talk about people that have
Yeah.
explored those regions. Let's talk about landmarks, and then someone's like, "What if we named it Bodie McBoatface?" And then everyone was like, "That's a dope name.
Does that
That's
dude
a
have-
dope name."
Does that guy
Actually-
have their marijuana card?
Yeah.
It's like some guy named James Hand, and there were all these stories that was like they were saying that he apologized for it, but I think he apologized it in a British way.
Why apologize?
no, it
Wait,
it
is
was-
there a British apology thing that I don't
it's-
know about?
It's like an apology that you don't actually mean.
Oh no, that's just a corporate apology. I've gotten those before, where like some large corporation violates your copyright, and then they're like, "Well, we're sorry if you think we violated your copyright." copyright.
Oh,
And
well,
that's it.
the sorry you is a fantastic one.
Yeah, yeah.
I've only really ever thought of that from a standpoint of relationships or when
Right.
when-
Sorry you're so offended.
yeah. sorry you took my words that way.
Oh man, that's dirty. I
Oh,
know
you've
that-
never had that done to you? You've
I
never
feel
done
like
that
I
to
have.
Yeah.
Like some superior or a boss or something back in the day has definitely worded something where it's like I was definitely wronged, but they
Right.
threw it back on me.
I have this amazing.
Gross.
So I had this neighbor, backdoor neighbor. We both were renting, and he was a huge douche. And I just disliked him from the moment he moved in. He wasn't even from Montana. He was from some other place. And
Some outsider.
different.
Wrong side of the tracks.
and he one day my landlord was over, and my landlord, we were just sort of hanging out talking in the backyard. And my landlord came up and he was like, "Did you pull out the wildflowers that were in the backyard there?" And the guy was from Arizona or something awful like that.
Somewhere
Something
terrible,
more terrible
terrible.
like Arizona. And just to make sure that all the people of Arizona now hate
We
me.
have 0 Arizona
That
fans, so
that
you're in
that
the
place
They're
that
all
place
gone.
where nothing can live.
clear. Yeah, it's Scorpion
this
Kingdom.
huge mistake of a state. And the guy's like, "Oh, you mean the weeds? The weeds I pulled up?" And he was like, "No, there's a bunch of wildflowers." And the guy was like, "Well, I pulled up some weeds." And my landlord was like, "Well, they were wildflowers planted from the seeds that were thrown at my wedding." And the guy looked at him and he was like,
wow.
"Well, now you're just making me feel bad."
That poor man who felt bad. That poor man.
I hate it. That's the worst response to anybody trying to confront you about anything.
It's like, oh, there was I misconstrued a situation and I've made a mistake and it impacted your life negatively and I would like to apologize. Like no one is necessarily at fault, but you can still apologize if you did something that made someone's life worse. It's okay.
I love how beautiful a sentiment it is to be like people threw seeds
Yeah.
and then you planted
They
it.
planted them
It's
in their
beautiful.
yard.
It's pretty adorable.
And
I
then,
think.
but then one guy on a boring Saturday was like, "Fuck these weeds."
Well, first of
Stupid
all,
weeds.
wildflowers sound like weeds to me, right? 'Cause
Well,
they're
it's
wild.
Montana. If it's Montana, they're flowers. If it's Arizona, they're weeds. Clearly.
Yeah, because they don't even know what flowers are in Arizona.
No, they've never
'cause they
seen
don't
them.
grow.
No.
Cactuses are flowers.
No,
I
yeah,
like that
they're-
we've decided to just kill
Completely shit on
Arizona.
Arizona.
It's just like, oh yeah, I saw this thing yesterday. It was like a rock, but it was soft and it was blooming.
And it smelled slightly pleasant.
It was like sand, in that it like I could feel it, but I don't know what it was. I'm so sorry, Arizona.
Have you ever had a loved one or like say in a relationship someone has said to you like when you're upset and you confront them about it and you're like I'm upset about this thing where they essentially say the same thing like well now you just made me feel bad now I just feel bad
because all of my loved ones are not awful. I stop loving them when they're that awful. No,
I've got to
I've-
rethink my life.
I've definitely not. I haven't used that one. I've used what we said earlier of I'm sorry.
yeah, that made you.
that
that
you felt this
that
way. Something
yeah,
like that.
I've done that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I offended you.
No,
Which is my
a
way
good
of
one.
going. I think that you're being completely irrational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's which is still not a
like,
non-apology.
I'm sorry that I'm sorry you are having this feeling that has nothing to do with me.
Yes. No, my true apologies in my marriage are here's the deal. I am feeling an irrational thing right now.
Yeah.
I'm the worst for right now, so I just need time just to
Yeah, I
to
don't
be
understand
miserable by
that.
myself.
Like a relation. It's an important relationship maintenance thing when you like know you're being an idiot, or when you're see your significant other's being an idiot, and you're like you're allowed to be an idiot sometimes. Like you're being irrational and dumb, and like you're stressing out about this thing you shouldn't stress out about, and it's stressing me out that you're stressed out, even though like nobody should be stressed out because it's not a big deal. But like okay, that's fine. That's the thing that happens to people.
I think that's the thing. Like, like the biggest issue with humanity is impulsion. I feel like
Impulsion.
Like,
Impulsion?
Impulsion.
Is this a
Being-
movie that I haven't seen?
Yeah, it's the new
Impulsion.
Divergent prequel. It's called Impulsion.
It's how everything happens.
Yeah.
All right.
But like, I mean, like everything is like, you know, all these really bad mistakes that are made. And in fact, this is going to be a weird example, but I always think about shows like Sopranos or like Sons of Anarchy, shows like that, where like these machismo dudes are so impulsive within their actions that if they like basically every issue in Sopranos and Sons of Anarchy can be solved
by taking
just
a damn
waiting.
breath. Yeah, just be like,
just wait a second. Yeah, and it's just impulsive-ness that causes these like terrible problems, I feel like. But I don't think anybody recognizes it as an issue with impulsiveness. But how do you think that that's where a lot of these issues come from? Is like literally just the fact that people don't take a second to just think about it?
Yeah, I think that there. Yes, I think that there's dumb humanness involved in stuff. I don't think that that's the biggest problem. I've been thinking about the biggest problem that we face, like the source of a great deal of the suffering in the world.
Yeah,
there's lots of them. You know, it's like just sort of logistical things, like resource problems. But I think a lot of the times, like a lot of the conflict we have is misunderstanding who is powerful and who isn't. Like I think that's where a lot of the conflict comes from, is when people feel like, specifically when people who have power think that they don't. That's when bad stuff happens.
Wow. Do you have an example of that?
Oh, I don't know, like all genocides. They think like, oh, we're being persecuted, so we should kill the people that are less strong than us for persecuting us. And it's like, well, if you could kill them, they're definitely not the problem. I think it may be you, actually, the one who's doing the killing, who might be actually doing the persecute. I'm just I think sometimes I feel like Russia's that way. Like Russia doesn't think it's like, Russia's like, we must be strong because we are not strong, and so we have to pretend and look strong. And this is a problem that individual humans have as well, where they want to feel strong, but they feel like that strength has been denied them, and so they have to like act in ways where they control other people.
Right.
And in doing that, it actually turns out that they had that strength all along. It's just that they're trying to make themselves feel the strength that they have.
But it's interesting because you can in like stories, in like just in storytelling and fairy tales, whatever, in like folklore, there's always the tale of like the pen is mightier than the sword, or like, you know, strength is like, it's something that everybody has. Strength is within you, and you just have to kind of unlock it. So I feel like it's not an issue of like educating people about like your own strengths. Like that's not working. Like those stories don't really work somehow.
Well, I just think it's a hard thing to know. It's a hard thing to realize. Like I am sort of the opinion that everybody in America every American who has, you know, is out of poverty is like globally, you are really far along on the strength bell curve.
Sure.
Like you have a lot of power. You know, just by virtue of being able to vote for the American president, you have more, like a disproportionate amount of power globally. Just by virtue of having high-speed internet access, or like being able to go to the store and buy a Hungry Man like meal for dinner, because that stuff's great.
It's a top quality.
I don't know
food.
why I picked that
because
thing.
It's like super cheap and anybody can get it.
Yeah, I
basically.
guess, and it's got that brownie thing, and you're like, oh, you finish your dinner, but there's still that hot brownie. Oh yeah.
Ooh, can't forget about that brownie.
Oh God, it's so hot.
What do you think it would take to kind of like change? I mean,
well, it's so,
but
like we don't compare ourselves. We compare ourselves to like the person who's more. You always look up at the person who's more powerful than you. I think a lot of people forget how powerful. Like I think that this is a huge problem with like. With like the way that we imagine ourselves, like especially with men, like feeling powerless, but in fact always kind of being the more powerful person in the relationship, because there's always not always, but very often there is a physical power disproportionality in relationships like between men and women, and you really kind of have to like recognize that and be careful about it, because it's always there.
Right.
There's always the thing that like men are like generally larger and stronger, just genetically. It's a thing that happens.
It's a genetic fact. Yeah.
And also sort of culturally, like there's always this cultural thing that men kind of have outsized power in society, and so you have to you always kind of have to be a little bit careful. And recognizing that is hard, because you don't feel powerful.
Right.
Like you don't no one ever feels super powerful.
Well, so in a relationship like that, how does knowing your power affect the relationship?
I think it's just just being aware of it. You know, and I think that a lot
Just simply being aware of it.
Good relationships are that. Like they good relationships attempt to create a balance of power. Like, and that is a part of what you are trying to do. Is you're trying to create a relationship in which both people have roughly equal power, and like, because otherwise. You win, like, and this is something I think about a lot with like relationships that start between much older people and much younger people, because then you have that power imbalance, or relationships that start between like famous people and fans, like that's a super weird power imbalance, and I'm like super careful. Like I'm not careful about that. I don't have relationships with anybody except my wife. That's
I want it on the record, Your Honor.
But yeah, it's like something that you always have to think about that, and like it's not saying that those relationships can't work. It's just have to be conscious of that.
How do you? I wonder how you, because I always equate lessons and learning things to kind of like pop culture in a way, because like pop culture is such a
Well, I think probably because you're a damn nerd, Steve.
exactly
It's like the only way I can imagine things. So like going to DC versus Marvel though.
Yeah,
how do you think?
We talk about just Steve. You guys literally had a conversation of relatability of Superman and Daredevil.
Well, 'cause
We did have like a
Guys.
45-minute argument about Superman earlier.
Yeah, because
today.
it's like my school of hard knocks is like, comic books and like TV shows and movies. That's where I learned my morals. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously from my parents and and school and such.
but mostly from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I learned everything I know about humanity from Star Trek: The Next Generation. But I feel like, but it's not just me. Obviously, there's a cultural thing where pop culture is such a huge inspiration to people, and it kind of it inspires people in a way.
I think it's extremely valuable. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in Los Angeles right now, which is why I'm on this show.
Yeah.
And like, you're
Accurate.
sort of in the place where a lot of American culture gets defined.
Yes.
And that's really important. Like that role that this place takes in the defining of American culture, it moves, it has extreme power.
Yeah.
In American life and American lifestyle and in
better or for
politics.
worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think that LA and like the way that gay rights was treated in this town, and like the content that was made about it was a huge part of like people kind of realizing like, oh, this isn't really a big deal.
Right.
We just like you can watch enough movies and be like, oh, gay people. They're like straight people.
Yeah. Oh, they're
But,
just like us. That's weird.
So like they kiss and they like
Because I like kissing.
Yeah,
and,
they're
they like kissing too.
chilling out. And they hold hands, but they're like the same gender. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
It takes like I'm not gonna say that doesn't take some time if like culture needs
Sure.
to change, and like that's a progress that
Right.
happens, and like so yeah. I mean, it's a huge part, and growing up, like I think that was part like watching the underdog stories, I'm not kidding when I say Star Trek: The Next Generation was a big part of
Sure,
like how
sure.
I like defining how I see the world. And I'm like, what do kids do now if they don't have TNG?
That's
How
the
do they
thing.
understand the world? How do they come to the realizations of how we should be living our lives if they don't have Jean-Luc Picard and Wesley Crusher to look up to?
Right. Well, they have like the Hunger Games, like which is kind of a weird example, but
sure. Yeah.
but there
You
is
know.
it's very much about like there's a power thing there
Mm-hmm.
too, where it's like rising up and kind of like taking down the terrible government and things like that. But I feel
But
like
the thing, like TNG was like the government was great. Like there was something to
Yeah.
aspire toward instead of like this just dystopia. There's so much dystopian stuff in YA right now.
and there's no there wasn't much corruption in the Next Generation.
No,
either.
I mean like the thing about the Federation was it was always like the perfect shining jewel of equality and justice.
Right.
Because all humans want good for us. And what's happening?
You too close.
Oh, lower the mic because it's like covering my face.
No one wants to see that. No one wants to see that. I'm not an animal. Well, I mean, isn't there like a big argument as far as that is that a lot of people said that's unrealistic because
Right.
you'd never get that many people to be like humanity first.
No, it's
over
definitely
self.
unrealistic.
Yeah.
It's definitely, but like it's a nice thing to think about.
Yeah.
Like I want Jean-Luc Picard to tell me to like focus on myself, and like my goal as a person is just to be a better person every day. Tell me
Yeah,
that,
man.
Speak it into my ear
Yeah,
daily.
that's just not true for me.
It's
That's why like when we were talking about heroes and stuff, I will always say the person
it.
I relate to most is the dude that ends up being evil in Chronicle.
Yeah.
100% always, because it's just I feel like that's closer to reality. I think that when you have something, it's so easy to end up abusing it.
I don't care about reality.
You don't care
Yeah.
about reality.
Reality-
No, I
Reality's
care about
boring.
me. I'm like, what's like? I don't care about how other people like the lessons other people are going to learn from this stuff. I'm just like, tell me how to live. I need to know that because I don't have a preacher to tell me that. I don't have like the structures that people have had previously. So like my religion is fucking TNG.
Yeah, well, because
Yeah,
otherwise, I mean,
yeah.
you have to have. I feel like you have to have some sort of railing, because otherwise, it can be lonely if you don't just join up into already like these social groups.
I'm
that,
so jealous of religious people, man. They just know
They
what
have
to
it easy.
do.
I've gotten to the point.
God.
I've gotten to the point where I was like, what if? It's not that it's like my opinion's not going to change. What if I just went to church, be around like some nice people?
Seriously,
Yeah,
right?
that's the thing.
it's like
yeah.
nice people party. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, let's go hang. What? Yeah, man.
Where's the Church of Science with
You
their
can't
like?
do it though. You
Yeah.
can't do it with
You can't.
because it just looks like a weird freaking cult.
Right.
If it's not not based on like 2,000 years of history, it's just like like Scientology. Like what's happening there?
Yeah.
And basically, that's probably what it would turn into. It would just be people talking about weird metaphysical crystals and stuff.
And aliens and things.
Crystals
like
and
that.
aliens. Yeah.
We'll just have a church that says like. I mean, there are churches that are like this. They're like, life's cool, guys. Love each other.
There are totally.
Let's
Yeah.
help some stuff. Let's sing. Let's do that. That
Yeah.
sounds cool.
In fact, most religions are based on that idea that it should be
there's,
cool.
There's lots of churches like that, and they'd be
Yeah.
like I'd be like I'm not super religious. I don't really believe in any of this stuff, and they'd be like come party, and I'd be like
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about being a good person.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to like always emphasize think about that all the time. Like I have to be a good person. I
Yeah.
have to be a good person because otherwise I'm not gonna be. I'll like abuse the skills and the influence I have and use it to get that house in the Hollywood Hills, which I don't want, by the way. But like, it looks nice.
Yeah.
It looks nice. I went up to a house in the Hollywood Hills recently, and I was like, oh, I can see this.
Now you
Was
see
it-
what it's all about.
Was it a tuber or was it someone that used to work at Google?
Actually, it is a tuber, but it's not somebody who has a bunch of money. It's somebody who was living out in Porter Ranch where the gas leak was,
Oh, and they relocated.
and they
them.
relocated them to the Hollywood Hills.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. Anytime I hear stories about the Hollywood Hills, it's always just weird sex parties.
No, it's just that guy with his Lambo in the garage and his books.
Oh, is his name Ty something?
I don't
Lopez?
know.
I think it's Ty Lopez.
Ty Lopez.
Oh, there's like this whole. I forget if H3 Productions did it or someone else did it, but they like showcase that like it's a big leased house.
Oh, is
and
it?
So it's like
they found his house.
Well, yeah, because they like looked at the pictures and they found this place that it looks like it just gets leased, and so it doesn't look
Right.
like it's legitimately that dude's house.
Like they filmed porn.
Was
there
it
and
was it
stuff
even
like that.
his books?
I
There's
wonder.
somebody else's books.
Hey
Was it
man,
his book?
this is I got my books.
Yeah, it's like I read one book every day. My Lambo also reads one book every day. 2 books. It's essentially
I also
Lambo.
read a book to the Lambo.
Yeah, I read it.
every night.
Well, that's the thing. There's so much money in the not advertising, but the like. This is how I got my success, and you can get it.
Yeah.
Why don't you do that, Phil? Because you're a good person. You don't want to abuse your power. You could get so much richer than you are just by being a dick.
Let's just say that's the reason, and not other contractual.
See,
things.
that's why I get mad. This is why I get mad about like weight loss things too, and
Oh,
like
God,
workout regimens, because they're all so different, and everybody's so different. That
Right.
It's like there's no way that there's one that works for everybody.
Well, yes, and I feel like weight loss stuff is always like, you know what you need to do is eat less.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
it's like,
A lot.
you know,
That's
I
it.
do. I need to eat less, and I can't.
I know.
I'm talking like
Los Angeles people.
I recognize that I am not a person who needs to lose weight, though I do need to gain some, and I would like to have once in my life pectoral muscles.
or just fitness, to be fit.
yeah,
because
but like that's what you
difference.
like. Yeah, I mean, but like, yeah, I can't change my lifestyle.
No.
It's hard. I'm busy. I got stuff to do. I have priorities. My priority right now is not like worrying about all that stuff.
Do you feel like that goes hand in hand with kind of like the power thing too?
Power
Where
over
like
my own
people
body?
can't. Yeah, it's like it goes back to the power thing, having power, knowing that you have the power to stop eating that way, knowing that you have the power to work out every day. It's such an issue.
Well, that's the thing. You got to like recognize that like you don't have infinite power in terms
Right.
of like controlling yourself. Like,
Right.
yeah, that goes back to your impulse stuff.
Yeah.
which is just like, yeah, sometimes like there's a Twinkie, and I'm like, well, you're a Twinkie. I'm Hank. The one thing and only one thing happens in this situation.
Yeah. It's like a standoff, like an old Western standoff.
Except it lasts for like like 13 milliseconds.
And it ends in the Twinkie dying every
it's
time.
a real boring standoff. It's like, dude, well, he ate the Twinkie already.
It's over. Like, yeah, during the positive parts, it's not that I really eat that much better. I think it's just like I literally just instead of me eating like cookies at 9 o'clock at night, in the morning I would go for a run. Something like that. Just little things. Because for me, it's a pure stress thing. It's just
really
like,
is.
oh, this gives me enjoyment that will literally be gone in like 15 seconds.
That's the amazing thing about like the bad decisions that I make. It's like this really like in a matter of moments, this won't matter. But I'm gonna do it right now anyway.
There's the impulsion thing again.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of money to be made in the idea that instead of trying to tell people that like you should stop eating this particular food and eat this food instead, there should be some sort of device or technological thing
already offsetting the
just
human
like you
thing.
put a giant mask on your face and it doesn't let. Oh,
it only lets you see certain things.
Yeah. Melissa McCarthy made this joke that the new Hollywood trainer is just a person you pay to slap food out of your hands.
But honestly, like that's not insane because I wonder if there's a way, because it really boils down to like you see the Twinkie or you see the cookies, and it boils down to that decision you make in your head. Am I going to eat this?
Well, why don't I hire a person just to slap food out of my hands?
Slap it, and also you wouldn't even need to go that far. You could stop it at letting that stuff into your home in general.
Which is how I control it.
Right.
I do not buy Doritos. Like I do not buy Doritos, but when there's Doritos around, I eat the shit out of them.
Problem.
Well, maybe where you live, right? But the problem is in LA, I have Eat24, I have Postmates,
Easy.
I have like 80 different things where just any single person that wants to make like somewhat above minimum wage will go get me food.
Yeah, I don't know if they have this in Montana, but you can get McDonald's delivered to your home.
Oh wow.
No,
we cannot get McDonald's delivered to our
But that's
home.
the thing. It's like
I
have literally on 2 occasions in the past 2 weeks had Taco Bell delivered to my house.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I'm a piece of shit
Living
today.
the dream, though.
See, that's the thing. It's
Look at you.
Living the dream.
Could you imagine your like 12-year-old self knowing that one day you're just gonna lay in bed and like app it up and get a
When I was
chompa.
your age, I had to drive through the fast food restaurant to get my food.
I sometimes wonder, man, what like young me or even me before I was like just as I was starting would think of where I am today.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty stoked. I'd be
You
like,
would be pumped.
Yeah, I'd be like, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd be pumped, but then I think I was so much angrier in the beginning.
I would also be disappointed in my politics.
Oh, has that changed?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, you gave up on all of that. You are no longer.
Talking
you're
about it.
radical.
But wouldn't you think?
You're a radical left-wing communist.
That's so interesting. So you've gained more success and have become more liberal?
I become less liberal.
Less liberal, because
Yeah.
I understand that. But
Yeah.
then that turns into like the conversation that I've heard a lot of people is like, especially before we started filming, you were talking about something else and you used the word privilege.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've heard the argument it's that because men gain more power and so we become more conservative so that we want to hold on to it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's nothing to that.
No, I think that there's something to that. I also think that when I remember when I was like 16 and I was wanting to be a doctor and there were those like job fairs and even the doctors then were like, if you're going into it for the money, it's the wrong thing. And I was like, you know what? Even if I'm making more money, I should be giving way, way more money back. Now my position on that has not completely changed, but changed to a degree because especially now that I live in the reality of how expensive people are, of like, especially if you want to take care of them properly if they're working for you, that I'm just like, oh my God. Like I feel like it's not the people doing pretty well that are like getting away with the taxes. The guys are doing like insane numbers.
Right.
And
There's
then
nothing like
our areas where we're getting just sliced.
There's nothing like owning a small business for like making you really pissed off about the billionaire class. Because like I don't mind paying 40% corporate tax. I mind that Apple doesn't.
Right?
I'm like, why the hell do I have to, like, every year we have to try and spend all of our money so that we don't pay taxes on it.
I was unaware of that.
And then and Apple has like freaking offices in like one little office in Ireland, and it's like, oh, we do all our business out of Ireland. We don't pay. There's no big deal.
So
Don't have it there.
things are different in Ireland, and that's why they established there.
Yeah, so they got a little thing. Like, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But I mean, yes, and I mean, like, but even then, like, I have my tax accountant being like, oh, you could do this, and you wouldn't have to pay as many taxes, and I'm like, okay. That doesn't like. What's the difference? And he's like, oh, it's this box instead of this one. And I'm like, but like, is that all right? And he's like, of course it is. And I'm like, but why was I in the other box before? And he was like, it doesn't. Don't worry about it.
It's also a whole racket because they change the tax law every year.
Yeah, and
every year.
The thing is like that like the real high level corporate tax people are actually like in constant communication with people at the government about how this tax policy works because they pay a lot of the taxes. So basically, they get their own people at the government to help with their account.
Yeah.
And there are these like very few humans who make a lot of money who are like understand how to help corporations not pay as much tax. It's very it makes me like in a very weird way want there to be lower corporate taxes because I'm like, look, is there a way that we could have lower corporate taxes, but like big corporations would actually pay them? Because like, what's the point of having lower corporate taxes if it's like lawn maintenance companies paying them?
Yeah. What about you, Steve? Do you think that you've gotten less or more liberal or conservative? Because I feel like in general at this studio is very left. Like I'm probably,
very, very
I feel
left,
like I might be the most far leaning to the right side.
Right, which isn't even too much.
I'm like moderate as far as like the country.
I don't know. I feel like it also has to do a lot with kind of the field of work we're in too, because we're in the entertainment industry.
And it's a bunch of young people.
It's a bunch of young people
in Los Angeles.
Yeah. And we're really shut out. I mean, well, you make yourself shut out to the rest of the world, but most people are shut out to the rest of the world.
You get your bubble.
I have I never meet anybody who disagrees with me. It's so rare. I'll meet somebody who's like actually gonna vote for a Republican candidate, and I'll be like, oh. Huh.
Well, I mean,
let's talk about that. It's like meeting an elephant. Like an actual elephant, not like a Republican elephant, but like seeing an elephant on the street and being like, "Whoa,
what are you doing here?
Man, can I have a ride?"
I feel like that is because people surround themselves with like-minded people.
Yeah.
So because I've married someone that's from the South, and then they have married even further, like Bama South.
Yeah.
I have like this source of, well, let me ask you what you think about this and why this, because I know a decent number of people now that are supporting certain people, and it's so interesting to see the mindset if it is on policy, if it's based off of this small narrow thing, if it's
or just cultural, whatever.
And it's just so interesting, and I like that though. I like even if I don't agree with it, I like having. I want to
understand it because otherwise it's just like it feels like they're either ignorant or evil.
Well, I feel like a lot of the people that I know that are talking about one of the like main two, because I don't know anyone that's on a personal level that supports Kasich.
Yeah. Except for this guy right here. No.
Yeah. No, but it's mainly like a lot of those people even acknowledge like I'm angry.
Yeah.
Right. I'm angry, and then they look at his background or his credentials and they say that's good, and then they take kind of the talking points or the plans, which aren't really fully fleshed out plans. It's more like a bullet point list that you would go into a meeting with, like, how do we do this?
Yeah.
And go like, that's what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
And so, but I also know a ton of people on the left that have that same viewpoint.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like a feeling.
For me, the scariest part of any of the politicians are the really extreme supporters, whether it be someone saying get out Muslims or screw you if you don't want free college for every single person.
Yeah.
Right. And just like, and the way that the conversation's thrown at it.
Right. Well, I mean, I really like, it's so terrifying to be at this place right now where a lot of the support for candidates is based on hating not just the other candidates, but like the other viewpoint, the other ideology, and being so ideologically based and not thinking about policy at all. It's just like,
is it the
who's
first
the person
time,
that
though?
I feel? No, absolutely not. I mean, American politics have been dysfunctional many, many times.
Sure.
But like, I think that there's a portion of it that's really based in social media, and like we are so caught inside our bubble, and we hear all these terrible, terrible things about the opposition, and there's no one interested in like a legit conversation, and it's almost like saying there's a bunch of people who basically feel like the other side has only illegitimate viewpoints,
right?
And they're based their viewpoints are based in them being manipulated,
Right.
or their viewpoints are based in like them being bad people.
Right.
And then where are you going to go
Well,
from
but that's
there?
the news outlets, I feel like.
It's the
'Cause
news outlets, but it's
sensationalizing everything.
But it's also the way that people share content on social media.
Right.
Like you only hear about the people at Trump rallies who punch people.
Right.
Like that's all you hear about if you're me. Like that, and I'm sure that there are people at Trump rallies who don't punch people.
Right.
You know,
Well,
like, but I don't know.
because
I don't know that they exist.
I would say like a majority.
But I mean, I think it's because there is this kind of like clickbaity
Right.
idea around the news.
Oh, man.
That's just
The clicks.
completely
It's
happening now.
It's where
Yeah.
where the money is.
It really is. I mean, everywhere.
Yeah.
And it really, it's tough to kind of like choose where you get your news from.
And the amazing.
Yeah.
So check this out. The amazing thing is, I have like people who watch my videos have actually commented on the fact that I have not made a video about Donald Trump and thanked me for it. They're like, pretty amazing that you have resisted the temptation to get a bunch of views. Because I know damn well if you made a video about Trump, you'd get over 1 million views and like you'd make a bunch of money. So like consciously, I'm consciously not doing that because I just feel like it's like, what the hell am I going to say that matters that hasn't already been said 1,000 times? And like if I'm going to talk about that personally, like you know what I'm going to say,
Right.
You know how I feel about
Right.
this. Like
It's a difficult place to come
yeah,
from.
and like all I would get is just a bunch of people being like, "Yeah, you're so right," and I don't want to be in it. Like I don't want to say something that everybody's going to agree with and feel so righteous about being right about
Right.
this thing.
It's a big circle jerk.
I would much rather talk about something where like half of the people are going to be like, "I'm not so sure about that," and half the people are like, maybe that is right." But like it's kind of like but separate enough from the narrative that we're stuck in right now, which is just like
Well, I just feel like
evil
nobody-
people versus righteous people, except that the other evil people are righteous to themselves and they think the righteous people are evil.
Well, and nobody's posing the questions that really make you think. And no one's really posing the questions that are like, oh crap, I haven't thought about that perspective yet.
Because like who
Yeah.
wants that? You
No
just
one
wanna, you
wants
just want to
it,
feel
yeah.
good. You want to feel good. You want to feel right.
You
Everybody
want to
loves
feel
feeling
good,
right.
or you want to like share something that's like hate fueled, and you want to be like, yeah, this is how I feel,
Yeah.
and I want everyone on my Facebook feed to know how I feel, and I'm angry. But it's like, wow, man, it all goes back to the next generation, and just kind of like that whole moralistic thing of being like, come on, man, can't we just? Isn't there a
Deep Space Nine actually goes a lot into partisan politics. It's actually
Nice.
really interesting. It's
I've only
that
ever
whole
heard
like
bad stuff about
Cardassian Bajoran stuff. It's really great. And the Bajorans are like kind of like kind of occasionally terrorist revolutionaries, but they're like negotiating with them, and like some of them are in positions of power, and it's like, but are they helping out the terrorists? Kind of.
Whoa.
So it's like very relevant suddenly.
really?
Yeah.
I've only ever heard bad stuff about DS9.
Well, there's a guide. Max Temkin, one of the creators of Cards Against Humanity, wrote a guide to how to watch Deep Space Nine and like all the episodes to skip because they're not important to the story and they
wow.
suck. And it's like it takes like 90 hours to watch the whole thing, even with his guide, but it's like half of Deep Space Nine.
Wow, I would do
so
that.
check it out. Watch Deep Space Nine with Max Temkin's guide right here. You heard it here first on Sourcefed Podcast, where all we talk about is Star Trek.
My answer to that is no. My answer to that is
Well, it's because
no.
you're a busy guy, Phil.
Yeah,
It goes
very
back to
busy
being
man.
busy.
Very busy man.
Like if you want to talk about Battlestar Galactica before, like the new one,
Yeah.
I'm down.
I never watched it, man.
Oh, super good until that
Yeah.
last episode.
See, I've heard that too.
How dare you?
I was
hate
way
that
more
last
into
episode.
Lost.
I hate it. I hate it so much. We'll fight forever. You can vote for Trump, but you can't say you like the last episode of Battlestar
Why are you throwing
Galactica.
that on me? Throwing that on me.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know.
Headlines.
I mean, I've talked about this in the past. I was like, I won't fight you on it. I fought with friends in the past about shows. One of my friendships almost ended after
wow.
Lost.
Oh, I hated that too.
That was the thing.
I am a huge Lost fan.
I tried to convince myself that I was okay with that last episode, and I got to the point where like I was best friends with like a director buddy at the time, and he was like complete garbage, just like threw it aside. Imagine like the worst thing Landis has ever said anything, and then like multiply it. But in this
Holy
case,
shit,
but in
that's
this,
big.
yeah. So, but in this case, I was like, well, what have you done? Like I had stock in Lost or a Bad Robot. I was like, what have you done, man?
You're just fighting for Lindelof and
Yeah.
JJ at that point.
I
They
think
don't
I was-
need help at all.
I think I just didn't want to feel like I wasted so many hours.
No,
of my
yeah,
life.
that's how I felt. Because not only like I caught up,
Mm-hmm.
it was like the last season of Lost was happening. I watched all of it on Netflix, like the 2 months beforehand.
Yeah.
So I devoted my whole life, and I loved it for the first 3 seasons or
Yeah.
so, and then it just started being like, it feels like
yeah,
they just-
season 4 is bad news.
Oh,
I feel like.
But I mean, that's gonna happen with anything,
Yeah,
whether
it
it be
happens.
whether
It
it be
happens.
with like
yeah.
superhero franchises where they're like, and now there's 80 characters, and you're just like, all right, how you
Well,
gonna?
I feel like Breaking Bad did it right, where they just ended. They were like, we don't need to keep going. The AMC could have given them more money to make more, but like if you've got a story to tell, you just stick with this story.
That's why I love old school anime, because they would like write 26 episode seasons or 13 episode seasons and be like, that's the show.
Yeah.
It happened.
They do
It's
that in
over.
the UK too. Like a lot of BBC
man.
shows are like that.
I love that. It's like making a movie. You're not gonna like make a movie and be like, but at the end of the movie, if everybody's happy, you just keep making movie, and you add it on to the end of the movie until people finally leave the theater 6 hours later, and they're like, I don't like this anymore.
Well,
I feel like that's how TV works, and I'm like, come on, no, just end the movie.
Well, even like Force Awakens, I feel kind of suffers from. Like I love Force Awakens. I don't know how you felt about it.
I love Force Awakens,
but I feel like what it suffers from, and what a lot of movies.
Is that a real moment?
Real bad. It's so hard.
It's the thing that that a lot of movies suffer from today is the fact that they kind of like they make the first movie with the intention of it being like a big franchise,
right? Yeah,
multiple movies. So they skip the whole convention of like the character learns something in this 2 hours, or like there's all these like character evolutions, and they don't do that like they do in TV.
Yeah,
but I mean, you know, we could talk about all day how like Rey doesn't really change as a character in The Force Awakens, but. The problem with Lost was that they just didn't have an ending. They literally didn't have an ending. And they were going season to season to season to season, just going like, how do we make this weirder and bigger and crazier?
Yes, it was very frustrating for me as a person who, like, the reason I was watching was to get some answers.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, what's the answer?
We don't even know.
Hole in the ground. It glows.
And there's a plug that you need to plug.
Even though everything's been leading to an answer, we're just going to say it's all about the journey, bro.
Well, they say, I mean, look, I still like Lost, and I'll still defend it. And I feel like people are upset because they wanted to know what the island was, and like what were the others, and like what was the Man in Black, and what was the whole deal.
There's a giant smoke monster that never comes back. There's a big bear.
The polar bear,
and
things like that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
But my thing was like at the end of the day, even though they were like totally making it up as they went along, they ultimately decided that it was Jack's story, the main character. It was his story, and that was everything you would find. The whole show was about him, so that the only answers you would get would be answers about Jack. And so everything else was just something kind of cool that happens while you're learning about Jack.
Yeah, way to pick the most boring character to base it on.
No, exactly.
He's our rock.
Exactly.
He's our rock.
Listen,
yes,
man.
he acts like a rock.
But see, even Jack went through his like roller coaster of like at one point he's like an alcoholic and
We have to go
he's
back
like a
to
leader.
the
Yeah. See, I don't know. I will defend Lost just because even though I will admit they didn't know what they were doing, they admitted they didn't know what they were doing.
There's a lot of great moments in that show.
Yeah.
And I feel almost like the first season on its own is like a wonderful experience.
Fantastic.
And like maybe you should just not watch the rest.
Well, the season 2 opener is one of my favorite openers of TV like ever. Like even the pilot's super cool, but the season 2 opener where the guy's running on the treadmill and you're like, where the hell are we? This isn't an island, and then it pulls out and it's the hatch, and you're like, that's what was in the hatch. It's just so cool.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it just tickled my sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like really, like to the point where I was
Tickle
like,
that sci-fi.
Tickle my sci-fi, girl. I want that shirt now. Tickle my sci-fi. But yeah, it really got me going. But then they did the whole time travel thing, and then the island moves, and like, oh god.
I didn't mind.
You're just depressing yourself.
Yeah.
It's bad news.
Well, DS9.
So not
it is what it is.
So not
it
on
is
board.
what it is.
I love that you're defending DS9. It's really
It's got
isn't
good
the redheaded
moments.
stepchild, or what was the other one that was kind of Voyager?
Voyager, yeah.
Voyager's the one that's kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, it's got its moments. I like any Star Trek when I'm tired and I want to go home and like stare at a thing, and like be in bed and not feel anything.
Some white noise.
Yeah,
The newest
Any Star
trailer
Trek.
doesn't seem
the
like
new
a Star
movie?
Trek movie.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they're trying to do Guardians of the
Well, because
Galaxy.
isn't it being directed by the dude that does the Fast and Furious franchise?
Ooh, I
Yes,
don't
I
know
think
that.
that's
true.
I don't know. Yeah.
And it's just
sounds-
like I was like, okay, interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like the way that I conceive of Star Trek is so based in TNG, and that's so not a movie. Like
Yeah.
it can all the TNG based movies were not good.
So bad.
And that's fine. And, like I watch them, I enjoy them, but like I understand this is not how movies work. So there's a piece of me that like it's like I just have to let go of this and know that the movies are gonna be a different thing. But what pisses me off
Let's hear it, man.
is J.J. Abrams
Just cut it there. Just cut it there.
saying when they asked him to do Star Wars, how careful and reverent and afraid he was to take that property on because it's so important culturally. And knowing that when they asked him to do Star Trek, he was just like, oh yeah, oh sure, fuck whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Because like it's a fucking institution. It is an important cultural artifact.
It's true.
And he didn't even he gave no shits about Star Trek. And
I
that
wonder,
is why
though-
we got the Star Treks we got, which is fine. They are what they are, and I'm not saying that I like didn't enjoy them. I just don't like they're just not what they're like whatever he could make out of the franchise that was going to get people to go to the theater.
That's what I feel like. I
Yeah.
feel like I wonder, right? But as like an old school fan, do you get excited by the idea of by him making it potentially more open, right, to the layman,
Well, that's the
to
thing,
Joe
like, if-
Blow? Does it feel like, oh yeah, our community is growing, or this isn't my Star Trek?
Definitely the second.
Well, 'cause
I'm
Star
gonna go
Wars-
ahead and just be that guy, but I'm gonna recognize that I'm being that guy and say whatever.
At least
Like,
you're admitting it.
That's
Yeah.
not my captain.
Well, I feel like, see, well,
Hashtag not my captain.
Here's my perspective on it. Oop,
Oh,
there's
geez,
my
did
ear
I-
went
did I do
gone.
that?
Oh yeah, no, I think we're probably fine. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
My perspective on it is
I was like, I'm
that
stroking.
Star Wars already had this like. How do I word this carefully around like a hardcore Trekkie over here?
Calm down,
Star
JJ.
Wars had kind of already a grip on the majority of pop culture.
sure, yeah.
And Star Trek has a very loyal fan base still,
Yeah.
and always has, and arguably even stronger than the Star Wars fan base. But because even now you could say there are like people wearing Star Wars T-shirts,
but not
that
as
don't really
big.
care,
But not as
definitely not as big.
Yeah.
And so I guess you could kind of consider it as JJ's way of kind of like Phil was saying, bringing it to kind of like trying to bring it into the Star Wars.
Well, the other thing,
Cultural.
and the other thing is like I understand that like Star Trek doesn't necessarily have this really like cohesive thing the way
Yeah.
that Star Trek does.
Yeah, it's
or
not
the way
it's
that
not
Star
like a
Wars does.
simple like
Because like the
daddy
original,
issue
the original
story.
series, like the thing that started out Star Trek was just like, I mean, it's very different, and it was
Yeah.
only 2 or 3 seasons, and then you like move on to like then TNG happens, and it's a totally different
Right.
property. Like
Right.
its culture is different, its values are different, and the way that it's like performed is just like it's epically different thing.
and very ahead of its time too.
Well, I mean, I think almost like you couldn't do that show now, though.
No.
Like,
No,
so in that
maybe
way, it's
you're
not
right.
ahead of its time.
Maybe you're right, but dealing with things that other TV shows were definitely not dealing with
Right.
at the
Yes.
time.
Yeah. And really good at that. And like, and that was one of the. But like, almost like we don't need that anymore.
Right.
We don't need that kind of show anymore. I understand why it's not happening. I'm just saying, like, go get yourself that Blu-ray box set because it's baller.
Oh,
TNG.
of the TNG, yeah,
All the time.
You like that remastered stuff? Or are you upset about
Yeah.
the special edition esque
I don't know, it's
treatment
fine.
with that?
It's
you like
fine.
that?
I mean, like, it's hard to watch original like
Yeah, the effects
anything
and
not in
stuff.
HD anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like it's just it's hard to watch something not in HD at all on my TV, and I'm just like watching this Star Trek and being like, this is like it's like watching 240p YouTube. Like
Yeah.
I can't handle it.
It is. You're right. Did you like the JJ stuff or like?
Oh, it's fine.
seemed-
Like
yeah.
I enjoyed the movies. It's just like
Wait, which one? Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek.
Star Trek. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, Star Trek.
It's just not. It's just not the thing,
Yeah.
It feels like a different thing.
It's different.
But
It's
that's
Star
fine.
Trek on steroids.
It's fine because like, but in the same way that like TNG was different than TOS, like
Yeah.
it's different.
Are you excited at all about the next one?
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, like my you never
Then
know.
you're part of the problem, man. You're part of the problem.
It's never gonna change, man.
Yeah.
It's never-
Well, I don't know that you can go back. Like
yeah, you can't. I
yeah.
don't think you can.
So I think it's fine doing what they're doing. I'm just like saying,
But I feel
if
like
you're gonna watch Star Trek, it's all about that '90s vibe. It's all about that stuff that happened when I was a kid.
But that's the thing. You're gonna romanticize it.
Yeah, I am.
Right?
Yeah,
100%.
I am.
You're gonna romanticize
yeah.
it. Like they're gonna be people. Like it's not for me, but they're gonna be people 20 years from now going, "It's no How I Met Your Mother."
Yeah.
Same as people go.
Yeah.
Friends was one of the best shows ever on TV. Like it 100%. Like that
Yeah.
was your thing.
Right.
It's why
but,
I'll
like,
always say like the Breaking Bad stuff. Like Breaking Bad for me is one of the best TV shows ever. Someone else is gonna have that different.
Right, but like you gotta love it in yourself anyway. You gotta like let yourself be that person because like you gotta love stuff and you gotta romanticizing an old thing. Nothing wrong with that. Especially when
I
you're
agree.
35 years old and you're getting on in years. You're only going to be around for a little while yet.
I think the only reason I end up hating it is I'll randomly go to BuzzFeed and just those stupid listicles about the 90s, and I'm like, I get it. Surge was a thing. It was
Yeah.
great. Fantastic.
Yes, Friends was great. Yeah.
Things only 90s kids understand.
Yeah.
Oh, did you know a floppy disk is this? Oh, great.
Yeah, like I was
thanks.
watching like Broad City, and they make a lot of like '90s references.
But they
and
also go super specific. Like they had a whole episode dedicated to fish references.
I don't
was
remember
like,
that.
I was like,
Are you
respect.
serious?
I was like, respect. I don't get half the stuff that
Did
you're
you-
saying in this episode, but cool.
Did you guys see
Oh,
the Hillary
man.
Clinton episode of Broad City? Did you guys see that?
No,
Did
I
you see
not.
it, Phil?
Yeah.
I thought it was really awkward and weird.
Well, it was a solid episode until they did the
Until
cameo
that.
and
Cringe.
cringe. Yeah, but that's
Super cringe.
here's the thing. Like I've in my videos I've made fun of every single notable candidate. I will still say her acting like a human being is
It's
scary.
hard to watch her act like
on,
a human being.
on the level of alien in a human body, she's nowhere near Ted Cruz.
No.
Right? But
Is Ted Cruz the bar?
Yeah,
Yes.
top. Yes,
Yes.
on a scale of 1
Yes.
to 10, he's a 15.
1 to 10.
that's the thing, like, because there was all this news where I talked about them. I was like, at the end of the day, yes, I'm not a fan of Ted Cruz. Also, on a personal level, it seems like if you read a story and it was like, man was under a mattress for 8 days, and like they showed a picture of him like sniffing panties, I wouldn't be surprised if they showed his face, his weird melted candle face. But like her when she's like
No.
big smile,
So creepy.
It's like a smile like her kids got her a present she doesn't like, but she doesn't want to. But that's just her. And I feel bad saying that,
Yeah.
but it's how I feel.
No, but it was super cringy and felt like highly politically motivated.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing I want Hillary to talk about is policy. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you just tell me how you just get up there, tell me how you feel about landmine removal in Laos.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I want you, like, you know a lot about how government happens. Just though, I would like her to come on my advice podcast. I'd like her to come on Dear Hank and John and give advice to young people about how, like, their careers and their relationships. I think she might be good at that.
Actually, you're right. Yeah.
I think that might be real. I've heard her on some podcasts where I was like,
Really?
actually, like, yeah, I could get behind you. There's maybe a little bit of just her, like she's not good with the face, but she's good with the talking. And I feel like I just want her to talk about policy, and I don't feel like that happens enough. I feel like she talks too much about politics. And I'm like, no, don't tell me about Donald Trump. I don't want to know how you think about Donald Trump because, like, I know you don't like that guy. Like,
Well, I
me
feel like
either.
they're already
Just-
doing that to get ready for the general.
I
think
know
that's
they
the
are,
main
but like,
thing.
I don't know. This is kind of how I feel about all politicians right now. I'm like, could you please talk about the government? Could you please talk about like leading the
Anything
country,
else.
doing things, the things you're gonna do? Like, tell me about like practical things. I don't want to talk about like who's evil and who's bad and who's got it out for the country and like who's going to destroy America, because nobody's going to destroy America.
But it's weird
a
because-
really cool place and it's pretty strong. It's be really hard to destroy. I'm pretty sure.
But it seems like advisors are telling them to do
No,
that.
of course
right?
they are, because that's
Which is-
that's the game. That's
Yeah.
the politics. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of it now, and we got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's
God.
just starting, too.
It's
I
just
feel like.
starting. It's just, and there's gonna be so many. You're gonna be watching YouTube, and every ad's gonna be a
Yeah.
political ad,
Yep.
and you're just gonna. We're all
Oh,
gonna
God,
hate
I
it
forgot
so
about
much.
that.
Oh.
I forgot about the
It's
super push.
The worst part is we make more money when it starts happening, and we can see our CPMs going up, and it's like, I hate this so much. I hate it. But you're at the same time, you're like, but maybe campaign finance reform is maybe the
Hey,
problem.
man.
Man, it's just out there.
Maybe the best time in the world ever to push YouTube Red CPAs.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're gearing up for kind of political stuff, too, right? Like, I think you're gearing up for political.
I don't think I'm going to the conventions this year. Last time I went, it scared me away from politics, because on both sides you see the most passionate.
Yeah.
Also, another word for that is extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of both sides, and it was a bit much. Also, if we did do it as a group together, I'd want to get hard right-leaning person to cover it.
Right.
Because once again, every time I see like Sourcefed cover something, I'm like liberals.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You're not wrong. I mean, and we don't. Unfortunately, we don't have someone who's kind of like who could balance it out a
Yeah,
little
well, I think
bit.
the closest we had to that was probably Elliot, and he's
Yeah.
more of a libertarian than a Republican.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to get that on Sourcefed and see how that does.
I'd be interested to see that guy in the warehouse with you guys talking about porno and Reddit. I don't know. How
Yeah, what
comfortable
was
they'd be.
your experience like in there in our warehouse?
I walked in and like you're watching. What are you watching?
Venture Brothers.
You're watching Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, Steve, and he was like, eh. Eating cereal, watching Venture Brothers, and I'm like, I just flew here from Montana. Thanks for the warm welcome. And then
Listen, man, you came in right on our lunch break, and you breezed right through.
That lasts 2.5 hours.
And then everybody showed up with their lunch, and then immediately, like within, like we had a pretty spirited conversation about the credibility of Superman and whether or not he's a relatable character. He could ever be a relatable character. But then very, very quickly we were talking about like really intentionally trying to find the weirdest fetishes we could on Reddit. And I was like, wow, this isn't really how it works in my office.
Yeah. I don't think that's how it works in any office.
I still think that that's a great idea, is to go to that place for weird requests for weird porn, and then just make that
just
porn.
start making it.
Yeah.
Making it.
One of the top requested things was, can I just have some porn, but instead of the normal stuff that they talk about, can it be some weird, some like just really super jargony corporate speak?
There's a.
And it's just like that was like 150 upvotes on that. I don't know. Is anybody doing that?
I feel like it's genius comedians that are like starting these and just seeing like testing out material. But by how upvoted it was, though, it seemed like this isn't a joke.
Hey,
No,
man, we still have that connection to Brazzers. We should.
I was gonna say we know some porn stars too.
And then
so.
and then that female comedian that has a new show on Comedy Central, Nikki.
Oh yeah, I
something.
know who you're talking about.
So she had a whole segment where they had adult actors in another room, and they had earpieces, and they had to say what they said. So we could do that, because apparently that's a thing that you can do legally.
Yeah.
Is to hire adult people and just tell them to read lines.
Yeah.
I think we should do it.
I don't think it's a bad
why
idea.
couldn't you? They're just actors.
This erection is organic, and it's about to go viral.
These quarterly boners I keep getting.
Quarterly boners. I like it because it creates like an exclusive one-time only offer. If you have to jump in on it now, or you might miss out.
We have some great synergy here. In the
The depreciation of
gross.
and annuitized ejaculate.
I think it would take all.
You are
of
pronouncing
the...
all those words as well as I think those adult actors would say
Yeah,
them.
you're right.
Annuities. What?
I feel like it would just take everything sexy out of that completely if you
I
had
don't
corporate
know.
jargon.
It depends. Got it.
I can't watch regular porn though
I'm not
anymore.
gonna kink shame people who want corporate
King
jargon.
shame. I don't think I've ever heard that.
I need to see some porn that I watch it and I go, oh, these people didn't plan on other people seeing this video. That's what I need now.
That's the best.
That and clowns. No.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be terrible?
There is a whole
You're like,
subreddit
here you
I'm sure,
are.
of clown porn.
You know, like there's a. Well, what about spider porn?
oh
With
yeah,
that
you were
spider
talking,
lady.
you mentioned spider
What?
porn.
Have you seen the spider lady porn?
No.
She's dressed up like a spider.
Like not Spider Woman.
Not Spider Woman. No, like
Like an
she looks
actual-
like a spider.
Ah.
Like a big, terrifying
next
spider.
level sexualized furry.
Right, but like instead of being like anthropomorphized, where it looks like a spider, like a sexy lady spider,
Just a straight
it's
up
just a spider. Just like a spider, terrifying spider with holes and going
well,
after
you've
it.
seen the pterodactyls, right? The pterodactyl porn.
No, I don't think I have.
There's
I
like
was too
this-
focused on the spiders.
there's
I like
a
that. Just
gif.
assume. Just assume.
Well,
You've
because
seen it.
it's
How
kind
did
of
you
like.
see?
Well,
I'm pretty sure that the only way I've seen the spider thing is in GIFs.
yeah, so that's how I saw the pterodactyl one
Okay.
too. Like someone sent me a GIF, and it's like 3 pterodactyls and 1 girl, and they're just you can imagine what's happening, but they're in like creepy, like as real as possible pterodactyl costumes that are like latex and like plastic for the beak, and it looks creepily real, and they're flapping their wings, and it's terrifying.
Why?
It's terrifying to me.
Why?
I don't know.
mean,
There's
There's
something
just-
for everybody.
Maybe there's just too much stuff that people are like, let's see.
Well, there was this
What's
joke I
up?
always loved that Hannibal Buress said on Eric Andre. They had a porn star on the Eric Andre show, and Hannibal was just like, "Do you think we have enough porn?"
Right?
He's like, "Do you think we got just enough now?" And she's like, "No," because like she's a porn star. That's her job.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking about it. It was like, do you think we could stop? Just like stop making porn and it would be okay? Would anybody notice that there isn't new porn?
Well, Steve, when you watch porn, do you go to the classics? Like you're like, these are my top 5, or do you just always just search and see what's up?
No, I just search and see what's up. Like I do some subreddit browsing. Nothing weird. Just, I do some subreddit browsing, but it's usually just kind of like the top voted stuff is pretty good enough for me. And I don't pay any mind to how modern it is.
You don't know how old it is. Well, I mean, I think that like we get used to a certain like level of quality of our entertainment.
Yes.
And when I watch old Star Trek, I'm like, oh God, it's so old.
We get it, Hank.
that's
You can
true.
relate
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
to Star Trek.
So maybe if you watch like eventually, if you're just watching like 2015 porn, you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe this is not 3D.
You're right. It would be as
360.
weird as
So
seeing
changing
like
format.
70s porn or something. Like I don't want to watch 70s porn.
So hairy.
Too much hair.
But technology changes, our opinions of body hair change. Maybe in the future, people will be like, I can't believe all those 2015 people watching all these bald ass bajingos.
You're right. It could be. It could be. And speaking of the porn thing too, though, in a way, weren't you just talking about how Pornhub has like free virtual reality porn?
Just
I
happened.
watched it for the first time.
I was on my Twitter Moments. It was on my. I go to the Moments on Twitter. And it was the second thing down. It was like important story of important international relations, followed by this website now has free VR porn. And I'm like, well,
Hey,
here
man,
we are,
if there's-
2016.
if there's-
Life is like this now. I said 2015 several times, and I've just realized
been
that
months.
it's the wrong year. Now.
Although I just figured you were saying that in reference to like 2015 porn.
I'm sorry I brought it up then.
You just ruined it for
Porn's
yourself.
changed over the past 3 months.
Yeah. Well, I've read
Porn
some
games changed.
I've read some forums from people that have experienced virtual reality porn, and they have said that they can't go back.
Oh.
Yeah, they can't go back to regular porn.
There is just a genuine fear. Like I did it I watched it for the show today, and there was just a genuine fear. One, someone was gonna just randomly like jump into the room and be like,
Totally. I was gonna make that joke because I didn't know what your genuine fear was gonna be, but like I feel like I'm wearing like headphones and I can't see anything. No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm gonna be comfortable with it. I gotta like lock the door and then have a door around the door to lock.
Someone's gonna bust in on you.
Yeah.
You're just gonna be like,
The thing is, like, you don't know what happened. Like, they bust in, but you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So you're just still going at it, and they're just like, I guess I'll leave.
or Snapchat,
and then you never knew what happened. You never, and like, they don't mention it, and nobody's ever gonna say it. And then suddenly, you don't have this friend anymore, and they're just not your friend anymore.
like,
and you
Well,
don't
does
know
that
why.
make walking in on your kid a little bit easier?
Maybe,
like,
because like at least there's like at least. You know, like at that point, like if
There's
you got
no
like
eye
if
contact.
you got like a 14-year-old boy in your house and he's looking at VR porn, you're like, yes, that's what you're doing. I understand.
Yeah.
But I think that in general, we just put it in we lock that thought in the back of our mind because no one wants to think of like when you see a beautiful old couple, like no one wants to imagine that at some point, possibly relatively soon, those people hate fucked each other like hard, or that the person next to you in the cubicle that you're working your day job like is gonna go home and masturbate furiously on their home.
To like clown porn butt stuff.
Yeah, right. There's like if you look at the numbers, it's like that guy probably does it. That lady probably does it.
Well, and you can think about how your parents probably did it too, which is
or you can't.
But that's the thing is
it makes it so much easier if you just do.
It is a fact of life that we lock. Like even if you're not good at compartmentalizing, that goes into it.
Maybe putting on that VR suit and just like not completely disengaging from the world. Maybe it's gonna make it like more sort of acceptable to people. Like,
or does
we're
it
just
also
gonna be like,
like that.
it's all right. It's all right. We're just gonna spank it sometimes.
Or does
while
it make it
completely
weirder
dissociated
because
with reality.
well,
how was it though? I haven't done this.
The thing that weirded me out the most, that it was like I feel like it's the thing that people will just have to get used to, is the eye contact with the
She's
person
like looking
in the
at you?
scene.
Yeah,
Looking
there's
at the
eye
scene,
contact, and it's weird.
Like it was like a little loving, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
I do not know you.
And they're massively bigger. They're like bigger. I feel like the
They're
technology
gonna
isn't
figure
perfect
out.
yet.
They're gonna figure out the angles and
So
like,
it's like you're having sex
With a
this,
giant woman.
with this like 7 foot tall woman.
also-
I mean, maybe that's don't kink shame, man. Maybe that's what it's for.
The first video I saw was like the angling was right, but then Steve showed showed me a second one, and it's as if your head was on your belly button. And I was like, everything's too close. It's like it's not me. It's like a buddy just has his head here.
Well, there are ways to kind of like. Everything's so new. You can adjust things like how far away everything is, how big everything is.
You can adjust how big everything is?
Everything.
It's the future.
But does that... Okay, so in the past, I've always argued that pornography is not cheating, that there are partners out there, like there are couples out there I know that if the husband like watched porn, they would consider that cheating.
Right,
but now, if you get into a VR thing... Right. Is it too much? Worse. And then what about when they bring this VR technology to like the camgirl sites, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's an actual.
I think they are already doing it.
But that's the thing is then there's an actual like connection. Yeah. It's weird. It's getting into a weird place. People are gonna have to start like thinking about their relationships, thinking about what they're doing.
I hadn't thought about like the eye contact and being like, I'm looking at you and I'm having sex with you, and like, or like not, I'm not, but like. It's hard to like. It's hard to disconnect those two things if you're actually like sort of like in the virtual space. Wow.
Well, also there's that whole thing with like the YouTuber and the community connection too, where it's like we're all friends and like there's that whole thing of like you know there's that digital barrier.
So what you're saying? Have you made VR porn yet, Steve? Can I fuck you?
This is an announcement. Sourcefed fans can have sex with me on virtual reality.
As long as you're looking me in the eyes while it's happening.
It's super eye contact the entire time.
Just go to discovery.com/pressure chamber Steve Zaragoza porn.
No, but I mean, like, there is that whole, because you know, I've gotten fan mail where they're like, "You guys are like our friends," like we you know. And
sorry, I was laughing because I didn't know how that sentence was gonna end.
Where it was gonna end, and it's like and I like that because it is we have this personal connection with people that we don't know.
Yeah,
and so I wonder if there's gonna be a whole ethical side of the porn part of it, because you are making eye contact with someone who filmed this video a year ago,
right? And is there going to be like a audio introduction where she's like, "Hi, I'm Jennifer, and like this is the things I like, I like you, and I think that we should have sexy times."
Hey, man, maybe the acting will be more important then.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I'd say let's wrap this up.
Okay. That's probably a good idea. You got to go to a thing.
You've got to go to a thing, and you've got to go to a thing too.
I do.
But. Let us know what you guys think about the ethics of this kind of virtual reality stuff. Where is it headed? And also, robotics is also going to be a big part of it too.
But in general,
what do you think about robotics in general? They build cars now. What are the ethics of that?
They're putting workers out of work, and also prostitutes too.
Yeah, exactly. Because you got Rule 30. Was it Rule 34 for everything?
Yeah. I have always wanted to fuck one of those car machines.
They're so
one
sexy.
Day. One day.
But guys, thank you for listening and or watching the Sourcefed podcast. Hank, are you plugging anything? What are you up to?
I'm on SciShow and Crash Course, where I do not say anything like what I said here. I'm sorry if this was a shock for you. I make educational content. I am never running for public office.
How many times are we gonna have a guest that has to apologize for like what they've said?
I guess it's our fault because we're so candid.
Yeah, I know. I forgot the cameras were there.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Vlogbrothers as well, where my brother and I make videos. And if you like podcasts, Dear Hank and John, which is a podcast where we give dubious advice.
I love that. That's awesome. And everybody knows what Phil's up to. He's at the PDS. You got your Amazon show.
We'll just move forward.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening, and also give us a rating on iTunes if you can, because that's awesome, and comment and all that good stuff. And we'll see you or hear you or listen to you next time. That doesn't make sense.
No, that's
Goodbye.
wrong. That's wrong.
That's wrong in every way.
We're part of the NSA.
I'm watching you.
Close. Did you try to finish it? Isn't that the point? No! Oh. Whoa! Whoa! Thank you.